it is generally discouraged that we attach a body to the formless God. However, the scriptures we have read until now have often used personal pronouns like him and you for the Lord, which inevitably evokes a certain humanoid form. What is the significance of using these personal pronouns in reference to the formless truth? This question is rather personal to me, as I have noticed how it's been hindering me from coming close to the scriptures. Tremendous gratitude for picking up these concerns. You see, those who are attaching personal pronouns to the formless one, pronouns as you said like him and you and such words, were also the first ones to tell you that the truth is nameless and formless. So it must be investigated why exactly the same ones who were telling you that the truth cannot have a name, form, past or future or place, are also referring to the truth as he or him or you. They are doing it because the listener or the audience or the reader needs it. We are deeply identified with the body. Being deeply identified with the body, we will not be able to relate with anything that is not embodied. It is easy to just say God is formless. But if God is formless, then you, Anna, as the formed one, will be able to have no relation with God. And therefore, some kind of subtle attribution of form becomes an inevitable necessity. However, that is a necessity only for the one who has not yet reached the peak of understanding. Once you near the summit, then there is no more a need to address God as he or she or you or whatever. But as long as you take yourself to be a body, it would become difficult, even hypocritical, to not to take God as a body. Please understand, if you are a body, then everything in your world is bodied and formed. If you take yourself as a body, as most people do, then their world comprises entirely of bodies. Now, in spite of taking yourself as a body, if you still insist that your God must be bodiless, then you are just de facto excluding God from your universe. Please understand this. You take yourself as a body, so your universe only has bodies, and still you insist that God is bodiless, so your universe will have no God. Is that what you want to do? Therefore, God as a formlessness is useful only to those who start firstly seeing themselves as formless. As long as you see yourself as a body, you need God as a body. And when you start seeing yourself as the formless one, then you get the right to know God as a formlessness. Otherwise, it will become a very tricky situation. Tricky and intriguing. The fellow is saying, I love formless God. And who is this fellow? Who knows nothing but forms. So knowing nothing but forms, he is still claiming that I love a formless God. Oh, this is not quite right. This is not helpful. This becomes just academic, theoretical. And the saints have no interest in theory. They are interested in your genuine practical transformation. They do not just want to teach you principles. Are you getting it? Equally, there is the question of why God is mostly referred to as He. There are many reasons. But the reason that applies to Indic scriptures is that India has been greatly influenced by Sankhya Yoga. And in Sankhya Yoga, Prakriti is who we all are, all the bodied ones. And then there is the principle of consciousness, which is the Purush, and then there is Mahat. But all the embodied ones are Prakriti, and Prakriti is the feminine principle. The entire expanse of bodies has been referred to in Sankhya Yoga in the feminine. So the tradition continues from there. The devotees, the bhakts, they take themselves actually as representatives of feminine Prakriti, that is longing for union with the masculine Purush. Now in Sankhya Yoga, there are millions of Purushas. But the Bhakti tradition changed that into meaning that Prakriti is longing to meet with the one eternal and infinite Purush. The principle comes from Sankhya, but has been modified a little in the general Indian tradition. So now it is that there are a million, a billion, a trillion females comprising the entire universe, comprising all sentient and insentient beings, comprising humans, animals, and comprising rivers and mountains and fountains and deserts. And all these beings are longing to meet their one great love, which is the Purush. And entire spirituality is nothing but the love story of these two. You remember how the Mool Mantra opens? You remember how reverentially it refers to the Karta Purakh? You see Purush there. And you see how the Gurus have talked of God as the husband Lord. So it comes from that tradition. It does not have to do with the personal gender of the teachers. Though at some later stage, in the hands of people who were not so greatly illuminated, it also became an assertion of masculinity. But that was not how it was used originally, and That was not what the intention was. It could not have been the intention for a simple reason. Even the so-called males on this earth are seen as spiritual females in the bhakti tradition. So when the male himself is a spiritual female, how can he promote masculinity? When you are referring to God as Him, equally you are calling yourself as a woman. So all males are also females, spiritually females. Therefore, originally it could not have been a product of patriarchy or dominant masculinity, let alone misogyny. Shweta is here. Dear Acharya Ji Pranam, in Sukhmani Sahib, there are many verses emphasizing the need to remember God and His name. When God is not a physical entity, what exactly is meant by remembering God? What is the best way to remember God continuously? In the physical world, a mother or father attends to a child's pain and his needs immediately. Humans too take the name of God when they are in pain. Why is God so demanding of humans before reaching out to them? Gratitude. God may not be a physical entity, but you are a physical entity. Shita is asking, when God is not a physical entity, what exactly is meant by remembering God? God is not a physical entity, but aren't you a physical entity? That's how you think of yourself. No? Who am I? Shweta, the body. Whenever somebody touches your arm, what do you say? Don't touch me. If somebody happens to touch your arm, how do you retort? Don't touch me. You don't say, don't touch this arm. Or do you say that? What do you say? Don't touch me. You'll have to admit that in your own eyes, you are the body. When you are the body, you can have a relationship only with bodily things. How can someone who considers herself a body have any connection with something that is bodiless? Go into it, Shweta. It is an impossibility. God is formless, but you do not love God so much that you rise into formlessness. But God loves you a lot. So He descends into formfulness. You will not rise into formlessness. So He says, fine. I would act as the formed one. So He then gives you His name and comes to you in the form of a person. You have actually made it inevitable for God to assume a body. You have forced God to have a name, a form, and become a person. How? By your loveless reluctance to move into formlessness. You say, I will not come to you. So He says, fine kid, I am coming to you. And then He comes to you. And if He comes to you, He will have to have a body, a form, a name. But when He gets for Himself a body, a form, a name, Then you say, you are some false god, because God has no body, no form, no name. Now God is totally nonplussed. He does not know what to do. You have managed to completely befuddle God. If He is formless, you cannot have any relationship with Him. If He is formed, you accuse Him of being a false god. You say, you are some false god, because God does not have a body. If He is perfect, you cannot have any relationship with Him. If for your sake He displays imperfections, then you accuse Him of being fake. Oh, He has imperfections. How can He be authentic? What does God do? So He says, fine, I'll not do anything. I'll just wait. I am the witness. Now you see how witnessing is a compulsion enforced on God. You could even say that man forced God to be a witness, because God has no idea how to deal with man. So He remains on the margins and just watches. And He says, you do whatever you want to do. I am here. I am waiting. And when you feel like, you can come to me. I am always present. I'll just wait and watch and look for your consent. But see what Shweta is saying. Why is God so demanding of humans before reaching out to them? God is demanding of humans. Yes, Shweta. You are saying, in the physical world, a mother or father attends to a child's pain immediately. Humans too take the name of God whenever they are in pain. But why is God so demanding of humans before reaching out to them? God is not demanding of humans. First of all, why does a human being experience suffering? You're saying when man experiences suffering, why does he have to recite the name of God before God comes to him? In the physical world, you see there are parents. And Shweta says these parents are much better than God, because they come to the child immediately. But in the spiritual world, God comes to you only after you have performed a lot of sadhana and such things. You must understand the exact nature of the spiritual process, Shweta. First of all, why is there suffering? When the little baby is crying, the little baby has prakritic reasons to cry. But when a man cries out for God's help, the reasons are not prakritic. The little baby may have pain, but the adult reaching out to God has suffering. From where is that suffering coming in the first place? That suffering is coming from godlessness. Now, did God force you to be godless? That would be strange. Your suffering is because of your godlessness, which is your choice. So it is out of your choice that you have kept God away. God is not demanding. You are dismissive of God. God is no authority over you. You are an authority over God. You decide when you will come with God and when you will stay away. Who is the authority? You. How is God being demanding? In fact, He is just like a patient waiter, looking at you, waiting for your signal, your consent. You are being a little unjust, Man has been very unfair to God. In between, she has asked, what is the best way to remember God continuously? Your daily troubles are the way to remember God continuously, Shweta. And if there are no troubles, then there is no need to remember God, because you are already now membered with God. Remember means again becoming one. Remember. Again become one. So remembrance is needed only when there is separation. If there is no suffering, it means there is no separation, and therefore there is no need to remember. So what is the best way to remember? See that you are separated from God and you are suffering. Your suffering itself is the best trigger. How to know that the time has come to remember God? How to know that the time has come to remember God? Check your suffering quotient, SQ. The moment you find that your SQ is crossing a certain limit, you know that you have been denying God, you have been defying God, you have been deciding to stay away from God. And that should tell you that you have been making a mistake and the time has come to utter the holy name.